So besides the whole wannabe dictator on day one thing, Republicans have another big problem when it comes to nominating Donald Trump for president again. And that is, politically, he's a loser. While Trump's cruel, extremist, and generally unpopular policy positions may be winners for his far-right Christian nationalist base, they are not effective in general elections. And it is why Republicans keep losing. Even the Rupert Murdoch-owned Wall Street Journal says so. The editorial board writing today, Mr. Trump has been the greatest Democratic turnout machine since FDR, and that includes Barack Obama. Every time voters have gone to the polls since Mr. Trump's first victory in 2016, Republicans have lost or underperformed. 2018, 2020, 2021 in Georgia Senate races, 2022, and in 2023 in special elections. And so far in the Republican primary, there have been some major warning signs for the party. While President Biden is winning upwards of 80, 90, 95% of the Democratic vote in every state, Trump, who is also essentially running as an incumbent, is not getting anywhere close to that. Last night in Utah, he got 56% of the vote to Haley's 42%. In Colorado, he got 63%. And in North Carolina, 73%. On top of that, exit polls show that in some states, a pretty significant chunk of Haley voters are not saying that they'll vote for the Republican nominee in November, regardless of who it is. Back with me, George Conway and Jelani Cobb. Jelani, you were going to talk a little bit about it. I wanted you to just chime in on the previous conversation we just had about the lieutenant governor of North Carolina who's running for governor, because he is a particular trope.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's the idea that if you take the position that's 180 degrees opposite of conventional wisdom, you must be brilliant. You must know something that other people don't know. But, I point out to my students, there was, 19th century William Hannibal Thomas, who was an African-American, who staked out the odd position of actually opposing emancipation or believing emancipation had been a net negative for Black people.
Yeah.
And so we have had those type of characters for a really long time. This is not a kind of novel development.
There's always someone like that. But the problem for Donald Trump, George, is that Donald Trump picked a lot of these kinds of candidates before. You could say in Arizona, Pennsylvania, you name it, Dr. Oz. They just lost and lost and lost, whether they're running for Senate, whether they're running for governor. They run statewide, and when you get out of just the MAGA base, generally people don't want them.
That's right.
So now they're doing it again in North Carolina.
That's right. I mean, he's created the demand for more of these people. He's created the demand for the Kari Lakes of the world. He's created for Lauren Boebert, for MTG, and for this guy in North Carolina now. And then, the conservative media absolutely juices that up. And what you've got is a smaller and smaller Republican hardcore base that is becoming more and more isolated from reality and less capable of attracting the voters that one needs to win a general national election. And we saw those two voters that you showed, the two female North Carolina Nikki Haley voters.
Yeah.
I mean, the point I was making before that break was that they may not show up for Donald Trump. They're not going to be enthused about Donald Trump, even if they say they can't vote for Biden or might vote for Biden. And that's the thing. There's going to be a huge turnout difference and a large number of people who are going to flip because there are going to be a lot of Republicans out this fall saying Trump is dangerous. Trump is a psycho.
Well, let me turn to you just as the head of the August Journalism School at Columbia. How do we deal with this as a journalistic matter? Because true, you have two things. You have this increasing alienation of Trump voters because the more extreme they get, the less they can win. The less they can win, the more angry and extreme they get because they are being disconnected from the culture, from society. The more far out there they are, nothing is reflecting them. Hollywood's not reflecting them. Books aren't reflecting them. Nothing popular reflects them. Even country music is now starting to reflect the other culture. And so they just get more and more isolated, but yet the media is so attracted to them. And they sort of talk about them as if they're a bigger group than they are, leading them to believe they're a majority. How do we work this out?
I think there are two things. One, just as a really quick addition to George's point, remember 1952, 1956, the Democrats nominated Adlai Stevenson both times.
Yeah.
In 52, Eisenhower wiped the floor with him, and they thought in 56 he really has the sauce, wipe the floor with him again.
Yeah.
So there's a reason why political parties have the tradition of dropping a losing candidate like a hot rock. And people haven't done that now, and it's kind of defying all the historical kind of tradition for it. The other part of it is that, we have a congenital idea of parity And if we do things in kind of equal portions or equal measures, then somehow we're finding our way to objectivity. That is not. We don't necessarily serve our readers and viewers as journalists in that way, because what we do is create a sometimes artificial sense of things having bigger proportions than they actually do.
Right.
Remember when we look at the map of the world or the globes and we say, well, if we actually did the projection of how the globe looks, then this country would be twice as large.
Right.
It's like that. We have a false sense of proportions here.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that we need to really be mindful of when we're talking about what we do. How do we cover 2024 differently than we did 2020, differently than we did 2016?
Right, because both candidates have a couch problem, right? For Biden, a lot of it is driven by Gaza and young voters who are saying, I won't vote for him, I will stay home. But to your point, we don't really know whether there is a big problem where people are like, MAGA is too much for me. I don't want to vote for Biden, but they too might choose the couch. Right. We're not covering that.
Right. And I think the important thing to remember is that these people who are haters of both sides, they call them what? Double haters. I mean, those people are going to end up voting against the person who the election ends up being a referendum about. And that's why Hillary lost in 2016. That's why Trump, and that's why Trump lost in 2020. Trump will make this election about himself.
About him.
And he will lose it.
There you go. George Conway, Jelani Cobb, thank you both very much.